Hello everybody. Let's take today's Ask JP question. The questioner is Abhimanyu from Indore, Madhya Pradesh. He is a mechanical engineer in NIT Bhopal. Abhimanyu?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
I'm Abhimanyu. I'm a mechanical engineer from NIT Bhopal. Sir, my question was related to the education. As of now, it is in the concurrent list subject of the Constitution of India. So, sir, it is having three parts. Firstly, that is there any need to shift the education from concurrent to state or union list as a subject to enhance the efficiency and helping India towards the dream of becoming developed nation by 2047. And sir, apart from government and the regulatory bodies, what role does the students, teachers, and various institutions they have in order to educate the coming generation in the right direction, so that they also aspire to contribute more towards a developed India by 2047. And so, third question was that is it the wrong sense of achievements that once you have studied, graduated, or post-graduated in India, that the best option is you have to go for the government jobs or service? So, up to what extent that this is responsible that India is still in the developing stage? So I would really like to know your thoughts on this, sir. Thank you very much for giving this excellent opportunity.
Abhimanyu, very sharp questions. There are three parts to Abhimanyu's question. The first part is, should education be either in the state list or the union list instead of being in concurrent list? I don't think so, Abhimanyu. I think this is a good thing. What's happening now is a reasonably good thing because we are a very diverse country, multilingual, and tremendous varieties in terms of local history, culture, literature, attitudes and approaches. And unless the states have a stake in that, unless they can, within reasonable limits, reshape education to suit the requirements of the locality or the region or the state, it will not work. At the same time, you require a common framework in terms of levels of learning. Whether you are in Tamil Nadu or Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra or Assam, we should expect that after X number of years of school education, there is a certain level of accomplishment that is expected. And we must make sure that all efforts are made to achieve those minimum levels of learning. If that does not happen, if each state does its own thing, then it's going to be hurtful to the country because education has no meaning. Already that's what's happening in India. You have degrees, you have 10th class certificates, but even the minimum levels of learning expected of a kid after X number of years of schooling or a college degree, they don't exist in India. Therefore, a broad national framework in terms of the outcomes that we seek, levels of learning, and professional regulation, technical and professional regulation in terms of higher education, I think that's the right approach. But giving adequate freedom to the states and the universities to impart education within those parameters in a manner that they think is best. So I don't think there's a case either for centralization, making it a union subject, it will not work, or excessive decentralization, allowing states to do whatever they please, disregarding global or national norms of minimum levels of learning. The second part of the question, apart from the government and regulatory bodies, what can all of us do, the stakeholders, the students, the parents, the teaching community, the civil society, the many concerned citizens who want better education in the country, what can we do? I think the most important thing that we should do is first recognize that our education is in large part failing. It's very difficult to understand. Many people think we're actually doing very well. In terms of enrollment in schools, we are doing very well. Almost everybody is in school. In terms of pass percentages, we are doing very well. 95, 98, 99% are passing at every level. But that passing a course or a certificate has no meaning at all. It's irrelevant in India because it's nothing to do with educational outcomes. As umpteen times we have discovered or discussed, ASER survey, Pisa survey, they all show that educational outcomes are appallingly bad in India. So a recognition that we are not getting education for no fault of the children or parents. Children are bright and hardworking. The parents sacrifice a great deal for the sake of their children. They sacrifice their own desires, their own needs, spend disproportionate sums to give children an opportunity. And yet, education is appallingly bad for most of the people. 80% of the kids are getting substandard education, though they have intelligence, innate intelligence. Nature gave them the talent. Only because they're not able to go to high-priced, good quality schools. Some of them are giving some decent education. But most schools in government or private sector, the educational outcomes are appallingly bad. So first, a recognition that our children, even after 10th class or intermediate or a degree, most of them don't amount to much in modern world. They have no skills and no ability to navigate the modern world, to get a decent employment with productivity, adding to the wealth of the country, or to fulfill their aspirations. It's not happening. A recognition. Once we recognize, push not for ranks and marks. There is enormous fascination for ranks and marks. In no other country do you have 95% cutoff to go to college, 99% cutoff. No other country. In those countries, there's real education. In our country, instead of real education, there's inflated grading and marks, very bad examination system, rote learning, mugging up, and mass copying. In many states, mass copying is rampant. So parents must wisen up, wake up. Students, at least in higher grades and in colleges, they must understand, with these certificates, their future is not made. It's only an illusion. They must get real skills, real ability, real learning, real capacity to generate wealth or contribute to society in some form or the other, because your ability to contribute to society becomes a job and livelihood for you. That's the reward you get from society. Society in turn gets its services or its goods supplied by you, produced by you. That is the equation. Your degree paper in itself has no value unless the degree gives you the capacity to produce goods and services. It may be good teaching, good writing, good thinking, good professional skills, good anything, but something of value to society. That is the purpose of education. And therefore, the central point that all of us should argue and make the political system and the educational enterprises and regulatory bodies know and understand is, we want good quality, real education to our children at school level, at college level. True education outcomes to meet global standards. We may not reach global standards overnight, but we must progressively go towards that. As I said repeatedly, in a global survey called Pisa Program for International Students Assessment, organized by OECD countries, to understand how their children are doing at the age of 15 after 8 or 9 years of schooling. Out of 74 entities or countries, India ranked second from bottom. Second from bottom. The only country worse than India was Kyrgyzstan in that list in that year. Now, instead of improving our education, instead of understanding what is wrong, instead of improving outcomes and giving our children better quality education, you know what the governments have done in our country? Successive governments. They said, hereafter, our children will not participate in PISA survey. Like ostrich, we buried ourselves in the sand. We pretend as if there is no problem. There is a problem. There is a huge problem. Our education for most of the children is substandard for no fault of theirs. So how to improve outcomes? How to have better evaluation system? How to use modern technology to remediate so that there is no rote learning, there is no mass copying, there is no stress on the child because you're not depending on memory, but it's about understanding the concept, applying it in real life. That is when you don't have stress, but you have real skills and ability. So push the system towards that. And for that, we must first understand what is wrong and then how to set it right. If that voice is felt, we have a very good education policy at long last. The national education policy is a reasonably sound one. Dr. Kasturi Rangan and others, they sat together and came up with the policy. FDR also sat with them. We sensitized them and made our case. And ultimately, a reasonably sound education policy is in place. But a good education policy on paper is not enough in a vast and diverse country like India. It must reach the last child in every single school, to start with at least in school education. It must improve the college education. Colleges also, we have degrees, but most degrees are useless. You ask any reasonable employer, they say, despite all the degrees and marks, we don't have good people of quality to employ. So ultimately, the quality of education measured by a sensible examination evaluation system and remediation using modern technology to quickly upgrade our skills and knowledge. These are the hallmarks. And therefore, instead of going after ranks and marks, all of us together must raise our voice about improving the outcomes and using better assessment and remediation tools as the mechanisms, making it flexible, stress-free, but real outcomes, genuine outcomes and skills. Without that, the children will have no future, poverty will not end, caste system in some form or other will continue, and India will not prosper. This is the most important pressing need of the country. The third issue, again, bang on target, what Abhimanyu is saying. There is no country on earth, maybe outside of Indian subcontinent, maybe Pakistan, Bangladesh are very similar to us. Outside the Indian subcontinent, there is no country on earth where a government job is taken with such pride. It's taken so seriously, a life or death issue. That's why outside of India, Indian subcontinent, nowhere in the world is there so much of intense competition for government jobs. Partly because of the colonial tradition. That being in government, being a government babu gives you power, prestige in society. Therefore, it's a treasured thing. Millions upon millions apply for these jobs. When 100 jobs are available, lakhs of people compete in the states. In the country, when 1,000 jobs are available, your various preliminary examination, main examination, etc., lakhs of people appear and then try. They lose years of time. Apart from this colonial tradition, there are also other reasons. For the same work and same skills, a government job typically in India gives 3 to 4 times the salary for most of the jobs. Almost in no other country does the government job give you 3 to 4 times the salary for the same work compared to the same work done in private sector or outside government. Every other country, typically in government, the salaries are less than in private sector or equal to. People talk about Singapore, how government jobs are as well paid or even better paid than private sector, but they are paid probably 5-10% more than the private sector. In India, 3 to 4 times the private sector. Almost take any job, particularly 90% of the jobs in the country. The second is, in private sector, you have to work. If you don't produce results, the company will not survive. Therefore, you have to work. There's accountability. In government, there's no accountability. Once you are appointed, you are entitled to the salary. Nobody bothers whether you're working or not. We all know it's largely true. The productivity in government is very low. You wonder when you go to government offices how the employees of government are responding in most cases. We all know every day we all face it. The delay, the harassment, the humiliation sometimes of treating people as dirt, employees as masters, and of course corruption. Not for everybody, there are many good people, honest people, competent people in government, but there are also many corrupt people, and corruption is endemic, ubiquitous in governments in India at every level. We all know that. In private sector elsewhere, even if you want, you can't make money like that. And finally, there's no accountability. All these make a government job very attractive in India. That's a very dangerous thing. Please remember, only 1.2% of India's population works in government. 1.2. 98.8% are not in government jobs. Among the working people, there are about 53 crore workers in India doing some work or the other to earn a livelihood. Only 3% are in government. 97% are outside. They are farmers. They are wage laborers. They are self-employed workers, small traders, private sector workers, software workers, professionals such as doctors, engineers, lawyers, etc., or entrepreneurs. All these, they constitute 97%. Only 3% of the workers in government, they are necessary. But they are not the most important thing. Their job is to make our job, the 97% of the rest, our job easier, our life easier, better infrastructure, rule of law, quality education, quality health care, basic communities, a regulatory framework that is fair to treats us all equal, and an atmosphere conducive to better investment, risk-taking, entrepreneurship. That is their job. That job they are doing very, very badly. Rule of law is in shambles. Education, we discussed in an earlier Ask JP, how badly educational outcomes are in India. Healthcare, we are among the worst in the world. We spend the least amount, and 6 crore people are becoming poor every year for want of healthcare access in India. Basic communities, only now we are getting used to 24-hour power, at least in some cities. Almost every major country in the world got 24-hour power 50, 60 years ago. We think we are grateful to our political masters for getting power at home. We are paying for it, but we are grateful to them. Drinking water, we know what the situation is. Sewerage, you know how drainage is in city, even in big cities. Stormwater drainage, it rains a little bit. We complain about lack of rain. It rains a little bit and the cities are flooded. You can go on and on. The governments are generally failing to do their job well. That means government employees, for whatever reason, they're not able to deliver. And yet there is fascination for government jobs. That means we have a feudal notion of power, not about productivity, not about public service. These attitudes must change. Government employees must be productive. And government is about public service, not about control, not about regulation, not about exercising power. And we must change our institutions to reshape these incentives and to alter the outcomes. But until that time, unfortunately, this lure of government office will be there for some time. But the best antidote is rapid economic growth, high investment, better infrastructure, more jobs, and more respect in private sector, more satisfaction in private sector. Some people are getting it, but not many people. Good wages commensurate with the work we do. Once we do that, then government will be just another agency to deliver for us. World over, in all advanced countries, that's the way they look at government. They don't think government is my bop. Only in India we think it's my bop, and government generally fails to do its job.